Chosen one, why are you breathing right now? No, stop. I need you to think about that. Why is oxygen still filling your lungs at this exact second? Why did your heart beat 72 times in the last minute? Why are you alive to hear these words when thousands of people took their last breath in the time it took you to click this video? Answer me this. Do you think you're here by accident? Because let me tell you something that's going to hit you like lightning in your chest. You didn't find this message. This message hunted you down. There are 8 billion souls walking this planet right now, but somehow, some way, in a universe of infinite content, your finger stopped scrolling right here. That's not luck, beloved. That's divine appointment. You feel it, don't you? That weight in your sternum, that pressure behind your eyes, that knowing in your gut that screams, this is different. Your spirit recognizes what your mind can't explain. And if your hands are trembling, if your chest is pounding, if something ancient inside you just woke up and said, finally, type 777 inches, the comments right now. Let heaven and earth witness that you're present for what's about to be spoken over your life. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. This isn't another sermon you'll forget by tomorrow morning. This isn't some feel-good message to get you through your Thursday. This is a fire alarm from the throne room of God, and your entire existence depends on what you do with the next 60 minutes. Right now, and I mean right this second, there's a courtroom session happening in the heavenlies with your name on the docket. Angels are leaning forward, demons are holding their breath, and the God who knows the number of hairs on your head is about to reveal something so staggering about your identity that hell has been working overtime to keep you from hearing it. You know why they've been fighting you so hard? Why every time you got close to breakthrough, something catastrophic happened? Why your finances collapsed when you were about to prosper? Why relationships exploded when you were about to heal? Why your body broke down when you were about to rise? Because they know what's coming. And before we go 1 inch further, I need to honor something sacred. I want to thank every single soul who has supported this message through super thanks. You're not just giving, you're sowing seeds into a harvest field that stretches into eternity. You're helping this truth reach the grandmother in Nebraska who's been praying for 40 years, thinking God forgot her name. The grandfather in Brooklyn sitting in a nursing home, wondering if his life mattered. Whether you give $1 or 1,000, whether you can give at all your presence here, your attention, your hunger for truth, it matters to the kingdom. And if this word is piercing your soul like a sword, go ahead and let the Spirit lead. But here's what's about to shatter everything you thought you knew. God didn't choose you because you were perfect. He chose you because you were desperate enough to be trusted with fire, and your training just ended. Let me ask you something that's going to crack your chest wide open. When was the last time you looked in the mirror and recognized the person staring back at you? When did you become this version of yourself, carrying regrets like bricks in your pockets, wearing disappointment like a second skin, wondering if God ever really knew your name? What if I told you that question alone is proof you've been lied to your entire life? Because here's the truth that's about to shatter everything. Before your mother knew your name, heaven already did. Before the doctor held you up in that delivery room, before your father chose whether to stay or leave, before your first heartbreak taught you that love could wound God was in eternity, speaking your name with such tenderness that angels wept at the sound of it. Jeremiah 1-5 doesn't stutter. It doesn't apologize. It declares with the force of divine thunder, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart. Not suggested you, not considered you. Set you apart. Do you understand what that means, beloved? While you were still a whisper in the cosmic womb, while you were nothing but potential and promise, God was already writing your story. Every trial you would face catalogued, every tear you would cry bottled, every night you would lie awake wondering if anyone saw you. He was there, watching, waiting, protecting the fire inside you that hell has tried for decades to extinguish. You think your best days are behind you? You think that because you're 70, 75, 80 years old, that God's finished writing your chapters? No. Everything you've lived through wasn't your life. It was your rehearsal. Every failure was teaching you humility. Every loss was training you in surrender. Every year you survived when you wanted to quit, that was God building endurance into your bones for the assignment that's coming. You were never forgotten. You were being forged. Think about the years that tried to break you, the diagnoses that should have destroyed you, the betrayals that could have buried you, the financial collapses, the family fractures, the dreams that died in your hands like birds with broken wings. You're still here. Your heart still beating. Your lungs still pulling air. That's not luck, chosen one. That's proof. Proof that heaven had a plan so precise that even when you gave up on yourself, God refused to let you go. Isaiah 49:16 says, He's engraved you on the palms of His hands, not written in pencil, not typed in some celestial database. Engraved. Carved into divine flesh, so deep that even if you tried to run, even if you tried to hide, even if you spent 60 years thinking you weren't enough, His hands still bear your name. You are not a mistake. You are not an accident. You are not the sum of your failures or the product of your past. You are a letter heaven wrote with trembling hands and sent to earth for such a time as this, for this precise moment. For this exact hour, when the world is drowning in darkness and desperately needs someone who's been through hell and came out speaking truth. If you've ever felt forgotten but you're still breathing, type "I'm still here" in the comments. Because the fact that you survived everything designed to kill you means God has something so powerful coming through your life that hell is terrified of what happens next. But why you? Why now? And what does God see in you that you've been too blind to see in yourself? You want to know the truth nobody's willing to tell you? God doesn't choose the qualified. He qualifies the crucified. And if you're still breathing after everything you've been through, if your heart is still beating after the losses that should have killed you, if you're still believing when logic says quit, that's not stubbornness, beloved. That's supernatural selection. Let me ask you something that's going to cut deep. Why have you suffered more than people who've done far worse? Why have you watched the wicked prosper while you struggled to pay your electric bill? Why have you cried in hospital rooms at 3 a.m. while people who mock God sleep peacefully in their beds? Because suffering is God's stamp of approval on those He trusts most. Listen to me. Your pain wasn't punishment. It was preparation. Every tear you shed in the darkness, heaven collected it in a bottle. Every night you thought you'd die from the weight, angels took notes. Every moment you wanted to give up but whispered Jesus instead. That prayer echoed through eternity and shook the foundations of hell. Psalm 56:8 says, You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book. God doesn't waste your pain. He weaponizes it. Think about Job. The man lost everything in a single day. His children, his wealth, his health. Boils covered his body from head to toe. His own wife told him to curse God and die. His friends sat in ashes and accused him of hidden sin. And in his darkest hour, when he had every earthly reason to quit, Job said, Though he slay me, yet will I trust him. That's chosen one language. You know what happened? God didn't just restore Job. He doubled everything. Job 42:10 says, The Lord restored his fortunes and gave him twice as much as he had before. But here's what most preachers won't tell you. The restoration wasn't the point. The trust was. God didn't need to prove anything to Job. He needed Job to prove something to hell. And beloved, you've been proving something too. Every time you got back up after betrayal, you proved something. Every time you praised God with an empty bank account, you proved something. Every time you forgave the unforgivable, you proved something. You proved you could be trusted with divine fire. Moses thought his life was over at 80 years old. 80. He was a fugitive, a failure, a shepherd in the middle of nowhere watching someone else's sheep. If he lived in Brooklyn today, he'd be in a nursing home playing checkers, convinced his best days were behind him. But Exodus 3:2 says, The angel of the Lord appeared to him in flames of fire from within a bush. God doesn't retire his chosen ones. He reignites them. You've watched friends fade away, haven't you? You've buried pieces of yourself in graveyards of broken dreams. You've sat at kitchen tables with bills you couldn't pay, prescriptions you couldn't afford, futures you couldn't see, and somewhere in the silence you heard the enemy whisper, "It's over. You're too old, you're too broken, you've missed your moment." That was a lie from hell. Sarah was 90 years old when she gave birth to Isaac. 90. Her body was decades past childbearing. Medical science would have called it impossible. But Genesis 21:2 says, Sarah became pregnant and bore a son to Abraham in his old age, at the very time God had promised him. God doesn't need your youth, he needs your yes. And Anna the prophetess, she was 84 years old, widowed for most of her life, living in the temple, praying and fasting while everyone else went home to their families. The world would have called her forgotten, but Luke 2:38 says she was one of the first to see the Messiah. Your waiting isn't wasted, it's a front row seat to miracles. Here's what I need you to understand. Chosen one. What broke others built you. What silenced them sanctified you. What destroyed their faith deepened yours. You didn't just survive the fire, you learned to speak its language. And now heaven is about to turn your testimony into a weapon that sets captives free. Your scars are not signs of defeat, they're stamps of divine trust. God looked across eternity and said, "This one can handle the weight. This one won't break under pressure. This one will carry my glory into the darkest places and still come out shining." You were never buried, beloved. You were planted, and everything that tried to kill you was actually watering the seed of your destiny. Psalm 126:5 promises, "Those who sow with tears will reap with songs of joy." Your tears were seeds. Your harvest is coming. If you've been through hell and you're still standing, if you've lost everything and you're still believing, if your body is weak but your spirit is on fire type, I'm still standing right now. Because that's not just a comment. That's your battle cry. That's your proof that you're chosen. That's your declaration that hell couldn't kill what heaven has anointed. But here's the question that's going to change everything. If God trusted you with this much pain, what glory is he about to trust you with? Now listen to me with every fiber of your being. What I'm about to tell you isn't coming from me. This is straight from the throne room, and it's burning in my chest like hot coals. God says, "I've called you, but you must choose me." You hear that? He's not begging. He's not negotiating. This isn't a divine suggestion you can think about over coffee tomorrow morning. This is a summons, and summons don't come with snooze buttons. You want to know what terrifies me? It's not the people who reject God outright. It's the ones who say yes with their lips, but later with their lives. The ones who feel the call, recognize the moment, sense the Spirit moving, and then reach for their phone. Check their email. Tell themselves they'll deal with it after they handle just one more thing. Let me ask you something that's going to make you uncomfortable. How many times has God knocked on the door of your destiny, and you pretended you weren't home? Think about Jonah. God said, "Go to Nineveh," clear instruction, divine GPS coordinates. But Jonah said, "Nah, I'll take the scenic route to Tarshish instead." You know what happened? He didn't just delay his obedience. He woke up in the belly of a fish, drowning in his own rebellion, 3 days in darkness, praying the prayer he should have prayed on dry land. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. And disobedience always costs more than you plan to pay. You think that's harsh? Let me tell you about Lot's wife. She escaped Sodom. She was literally steps away from salvation. Angels, actual angels, told her, "Don't look back. One instruction. Just keep walking." But something in her hesitated. Something in her second-guessed. Something in her wanted to hold on to what God said to release. Genesis 19:26 tells us she looked back, and she became a pillar of salt. She was so close to freedom, but her backward glance became her burial site. How many of you are standing on the edge of your breakthrough right now, but you keep looking back at your past, your failures, your shame, your comfortable misery? God is screaming, move forward, but you're paralyzed by what's behind you. Here's what's going to shake you to your core. Every destiny has an expiration date stamped in invisible ink. You can't see it, but it's there. Opportunities don't wait forever. Callings don't pause for your convenience. God's timing is precise, and when the door closes, it doesn't matter how hard you knock. Remember the 10 virgins in Matthew 25? 5 were wise, 5 were foolish. They all had invitations to the wedding. They all had lamps. They all showed up. But 5 of them fell asleep on their moment. And when the bridegroom came, when destiny knocked, when heaven opened, they weren't ready. Their oil was gone. Their chance had passed. And you know what breaks my heart? Verse 11 says they knocked on that door, begging, Lord, Lord, open to us. But verse 12 gives the most terrifying response in all of Scripture. Truly, I say to you, I do not know you. They missed their moment, and the door shut. Let me ask you something that should make your hands sweat. What happens when heaven calls your name and you don't answer? What happens when God extends his hand and you're too busy to grab it? What happens when the oil is offered and you're asleep? I'll tell you what happens. The train leaves the station, the door locks, the season shifts, and you spend the rest of your life wondering, what if? But here's the good news that's going to explode in your spirit right now. You're not too late. Not yet. God's not asking for perfection. He's not demanding you have your life together before you answer. He's not waiting for you to clean up, straighten out, or figure it all out. He's asking for your yes, that's it. Just one word, one decision, one moment of radical obedience that will move mountains you can't even see yet. Right now, I need you to do something that might feel crazy. I need you to say it out loud, wherever you are, in your living room, in your car, in your kitchen, at 2 a.m. Say it with your whole chest. Yes, Lord, I'm ready. Say it again, louder this time. Type it in the comments so heaven can witness your declaration, because this isn't just a prayer. This is you signing your name on your destiny. This is you stepping through the door before it closes. This is you grabbing the oil while it's still being offered. God's been patient. He's been merciful. He's been waiting. But beloved, there comes a moment when waiting ends and choosing begins. And that moment is right now. Don't play with this. Don't treat this like another inspirational video you'll forget by bedtime. This is the alarm. This is the warning. This is your moment. So, I'm asking you one final time. Are you going to answer the call, or are you going to let this moment pass like all the others? Because what comes next will show you exactly what God does with a yes. You want to know why God let you burn? Because diamonds are made under pressure, beloved. And you're not coal anymore. Listen to me. Every season you sat in silence, every year you prayed and heard nothing back that wasn't abandonment. That was surgery. God was operating on parts of you that you didn't even know were infected. He was cutting away the disease of people-pleasing, the cancer of comparison, the tumor of trying to earn love you already had. You thought he forgot you, but he was saving you. Every delay you endured wasn't punishment, chosen one. It was preparation. When Joseph sat in that prison for years after being sold by his own brothers, betrayed by his boss's wife, forgotten by the cupbearer, he helped. Do you think he understood? Do you think he saw the purpose while rats crawled across the floor of his cell? But God was making a prime minister out of a prisoner. He was turning a dreamer into a deliverer. He was preparing Joseph to save nations, and prison was his training ground. Your waiting room was your war room. See, God doesn't waste anything. Romans 8:28 isn't a suggestion, it's a stone-cold guarantee. All things work together for good to those who love God, to those who are called according to his purpose. All things. Not just the victories, not just the breakthroughs, the betrayals, the bankruptcies, the diagnoses, the divorces, the disappointments that nearly destroyed you. He was weaving them together like threads in a tapestry, and you couldn't see the image because you were too close to the fabric. But step back now. Look at what he's been creating. Every person who walked away from you, they were making room for the right people to walk toward you. Every door that slammed shut, God was protecting you from a path that would have killed your purpose. Every night you cried yourself to sleep, wondering if you'd survive. You were being refined in the furnace, and the fire wasn't trying to consume you, it was trying to complete you. Isaiah 43:19 rings out from heaven like a trumpet. Behold, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. Do you hear that? A new thing, not a recycled blessing, not a hand-me-down miracle. God is doing something in your life right now that has never been done before. Something custom-made, something that carries your name on it. But you had to go through the wilderness to receive it. You were the seed buried in soil, and you thought you were being buried alive. But seeds don't die in the ground. Beloved, they germinate, they break open, they transform. And what comes up looks nothing like what went down. You were the caterpillar in the cocoon, and it felt like suffocation. But that cocoon wasn't a tomb, it was a womb. You weren't dying, you were being redesigned, and when you break through, you won't crawl anymore, you'll fly. You were the clay on the potter's wheel, and the pressure felt unbearable. But the master potter wasn't trying to break you, he was shaping you. And every turn of that wheel, every press of his hands, was creating a vessel strong enough to hold the glory he's about to pour into you. The pressure was never proof of punishment. It was proof of design. So if this is speaking straight to your soul right now, if you feel the heat of the furnace still burning on your skin, say it out loud with me. I'm in the furnace, but I'm not finished. Say it again. Louder. Let the walls hear you. Let hell hear you. Let heaven record your declaration. Because here's the truth that's going to set you free. The same fire that tried to consume you is now the fire that crowns you. The enemy thought the flames would turn you to ash, but God used those flames to burn away everything that wasn't you. And what's left standing? Pure gold, unshakable faith, unstoppable purpose. You're not a victim of the fire, chosen one. You're a survivor of it. No, you're more than a survivor. You're a testament to it. Your scars aren't marks of defeat. They're medals of honor. Every wound tells a story of a battle you won. Every limp is evidence that you kept walking when quitting would have been easier. Daniel's 3 friends walked into a furnace so hot it killed the guards who threw them in. But when the king looked inside, he saw 4 figures walking around, and the 4th looked like the Son of God. You've never walked through fire alone. And when you come out, you won't even smell like smoke. You'll smell like victory. You'll radiate his presence. People will look at you and ask, "How are you still standing?" And you'll smile and say, "I had help." The furnace wasn't your finish line, beloved. It was your starting line. Now the question is, what will you do with the fire that refined you? Now listen to me, chosen one, because what I'm about to tell you is going to shift the entire atmosphere around your life. While you were in the valley, bleeding and broken, God was in the banquet hall setting your table. Psalm 23:5 says it with absolute precision. He prepares a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Not after your enemies leave, not when the coast is clear, in their presence. Which means the very people who buried your name are about to get front row seats to your resurrection. Can you see it? Can you feel it in your spirit right now? The table is already set. The fine china is already laid out. The wine is already poured. And God is walking toward you in this very moment saying, "Beloved, it's time to sit down. This feast has your name engraved on every plate." Your enemies thought they were planning your funeral, but God was planning your coronation. Think about Joseph, sold into slavery by his own brothers, falsely accused by Potiphar's wife, forgotten in prison for years. But when God lifted him up, those same brothers who threw him in a pit had to bow before him to get bread. Genesis 50:20 says, "You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good, to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives." Every attack on Joseph's life was actually setting the table for his authority. That's you right now. Every betrayal, every lie, every door that slammed in your face, it wasn't destruction, it was decoration. God was arranging the room for your vindication. I need you to picture something with me. Close your eyes for just 3 seconds. Picture yourself walking into the room where they counted you out. The room where they whispered, "They'll never make it." The room where they erased your name from the list. Now see yourself walking back in, not to argue, not to defend, not to explain, but to sit down at the head of the table God prepared for you. And when they ask, "How did you survive?" your life will be the sermon they can't argue with. Type, "I receive my table" in the comments right now. If you know this is your season of vindication, let heaven release the angels assigned to escort you to your seat. Here's what's about to wreck you in the best way possible. You're not fighting for victory anymore. You're fighting from victory. Jesus already won the war. The table is already prepared. The feast is already paid for. All you have to do is show up and take your seat. Romans 8:37 doesn't say we're barely getting by. It says we are more than conquerors through him who loved us. More than. You're not just surviving, you're thriving. You're not just getting through, you're breaking through. You're not just overcoming, you're overwhelming the darkness with light. Your enemies are watching, the table is set, and God is pulling out your chair. The only question left is, will you sit down? Because what comes next is going to prove that everything you lost was making room for everything you're about to gain. So let me bring this home, beloved. If you remember nothing else from the last hour, remember this. You were chosen before you could even speak your own name. God marked you in the hidden place, refined you in the fire, and now he's positioning you for a breakthrough so powerful that your life will become living proof of his faithfulness. You are not here by accident. You didn't stumble into this message. Heaven summoned you to this moment because God is ready to turn your pain into purpose, your scars into credentials, and your wilderness into a testimony that will set captives free. But I need you to hear something that might save your life tonight. You are not alone. I know it's felt that way. I know the nights have been long, and the silence has been deafening. I know you've wondered if anyone sees you, if anyone cares, if God himself remembers your name. But he does. He never stopped watching. He never stopped working. And right now, in ways you can't even see yet, he's orchestrating divine appointments, opening doors, and preparing the table he promised you. And beyond that, you have us. Right here, right now, there's a community of chosen ones who understand your journey, who've walked through their own valleys, who know what it means to hold on when everything in you wants to let go. We're here, we see you, and we're ready to stand with you in prayer. So before you go, let me ask you this. Knowing everything you now know about your calling, your purpose, your divine assignment, what will you do with this revelation? Will you shrink back into the shadows, or will you step boldly into the light God has prepared for you? Let me pray over you right now. And I mean really pray, not just words, but a declaration of authority over your life. Heavenly Father, I place my hand on the shoulder of every precious soul hearing these words. You know their name, you know their story, you know the battles they've fought in secret and the victories they've won in silence. Lord, breathe fresh wind into their weary souls right now. Where they feel depleted, restore them. Where they feel forgotten, remind them of their worth. Where they feel overwhelmed, be their strength. God, open doors that no man can shut. Provide resources they haven't even thought to ask for. Send divine connections that will accelerate their purpose. Give them dreams and visions that will clarify their next steps. Surround them with people who see their value, who honor their calling, who will walk alongside them without trying to dim their light. Most of all, Father, let them feel your presence right now. Let them know in their spirit that you are proud of how they've carried what you've given them. Let them feel your smile, your approval, your deep love for who they are and who they're becoming. In Jesus' mighty name, Amen. Now, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell us what God spoke to your heart tonight. Ask questions. Share your testimony. Let us know how we can pray for you. You don't have to face tomorrow alone. And if this message touched your soul, please share it with someone who needs to hear these words. There's someone in your life right now who feels exactly like you felt when you first clicked on this video. Be the vessel that carries this hope to them. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. If you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and hit that notification bell, because your breakthrough journey is just beginning. Walk in the authority of who you are. You are chosen. You are loved. You are never alone. God bless you, warrior. Your finest hour is just ahead.